Writing for a better work-life balance? Say what? I thought writing was just more to do. Well, I remember the times that I've specifically seriously lacked a work-life balance, and it's been because I'm taking my work home in two ways, and we can avoid both of these with some simple agreements about our writing style, and we can talk to our colleagues about the same thing. We want to talk about how to get clear information across so we don't spend time wondering if what we're doing is right, and we want to spend time reducing the sort of emotional weight that emailing can carry. So let's talk today about 3 ways that you and your team members and colleagues, heck, it could even just be one other person with whom you email often, talk to them about doing these 3 things. The first 2 are information and action oriented. The third one is meant to reduce the time that we often spend after writing or reading an email and interpreting and kind of wondering if we've done okay. So let's get right into it to respect our own time and work-life balance. So my first 2 ideas here will be about clarifying information. So there's less writing, less reading, and less wondering to do. And then the third, we'll get to the emotional area, and I'll have kind of 3 sort of triggers we want to avoid to prevent each other from having to go home worrying. All right, so starting with information, best way you can prepare and inform your readers very quickly is with a 2-part subject line. And again, if you agree with maybe 3 other people you work with to do this with each other, you can all save time, because when your subject line is that clear and it covers both the subject or topic and the required action if there is one, now we have readers who can just simply look at the subject line and already know what to do. That's saving time for people, right? So with these examples, we can see that I've started with the topic, then I put a colon, then I put the action, and that's the reader's action. The goal is, if I'm looking through my emails quickly, I can see what to do generally, even knowing if I need to make time for it. So brochure draft, edits requested by Thursday. I know if I receive that subject line, I need to set some time aside between now and Thursday to work on these edits. This writer has given me everything I need to understand what we're doing and plan my day. I do not have to call them and say, when would you like this? I do not have to call them and say which brochure, right? They're going to clarify all of that in the email. Morning briefing, late arrival, that's really all I need. As long as I know who wrote it, I know who's going to be late. Submitting final metrics, please provide details. Maybe I need to add a deadline. Maybe that's in the email. Regardless, I can open that up and say, oh my gosh, the final metrics are almost due. I need to make my contribution of these details from my department. And food drive donate next week. If I'm leaving work, I can stop at the grocery store on the way home. These subject lines save the writer and the reader time. There's less question about the topic and the action that we're considering, and we're helping that reader move forward before they've even opened the email, which means reading it is going to be a breeze. And a second informational agreement you can make is to make sure everyone is using a really clear ask when they write. And by the way, put that ask at the beginning in the first paragraph. Or sometimes people even pull it out separately and write summary. What is this email about? Ask. What are we asking for? Regardless, as long as it's coming near the top in your email or whatever kind of message this is, you can reduce the need for follow-up questions and time use by covering these 3 steps in your ask. We need a command verb. The reader needs to know, what is my action? You got to tell me what to do. And I have had questions where people will say, isn't it rude to tell people what to do? And I say, you know what? It's ruder not to, because then you're giving them 10 minutes to try to figure out what to do when we could have just told them. But if we feel rude, we can always just put a please. So we need that command verb. What is that reader going to do? What's their action for this? Probably when and where, as needed, right? We want to make sure they don't have to ask us. So please provide your comments on pages 15 and 16 of the attached report by 5 p.m. Pacific on Monday. I've covered it all. They do not need to fight through 300 pages of the report to figure out where the comments are or where they're supposed to put them. I've already given them a very specific where, a very specific digital location, right? Before leaving the office, shut down your computer and turn off any lights in your area. I get all the information I need. So when you are writing an ask, a request, a call to action, a recommendation, typically these three pieces are needed in order for your reader to have everything they know to go forward and act or respond to you as asked, rather than asking follow-up questions. So those two informational options can really help you make sure that everything is clear and that the reader does not have too little or too much information and is able to move forward and act. But for me, a lot of the time that I've spent working is actually worrying about work. And I've been in that situation where you go home and excruciate over an email and did I say that right? Or something that someone sent to me and I wasn't sure how to interpret it. So we can get together with our teams, our colleagues, people we email with often, and agree to reduce that potential drama and excruciating that we might have after reading an email from someone. Let's just avoid these triggers or reduce them as we can, using you in a negative situation, skipping or kind of botching the greeting. We'll talk about that. And lastly, of course, we never want to make our reader feel dismissed or unimportant. And that can lead someone to spend a lot of time with emotional reactions, right? We want to reduce that. We're going to look at examples of each. And then at the end, I'll talk about an example of everything put together and how you could approach your teams to have this conversation. All right, 3 triggers, and the you trigger can be a biggie because you can feel like this, right? I hate even doing it. I'm pointing at you. I use you all the time when it's positive. I say, you gave me such a great idea. I used all your advice. You and your are really great to use when it's positive to give people credit. When it's negative, though, we can typically focus our words on the topic more than the individuals involved. Focus on the outcome, the goal, the product, the deliverable, not you, not me, right? So instead of you forgot to include the Q2 metrics in the report, please add the Q2 metrics to the report. The report is what matters here, not your mistake or my request. The report is what we're talking about, right? No need for either of us to feel that it's us. Your email was confusing. I couldn't find the specific thing I was looking for in the email, right? Why did you leave the lights on? I might say, ooh, what if, they didn't and someone else turned them on or whatever, right? I found the lights on this morning. Was there an issue last night? That's called giving the benefit of the doubt, right? I don't like the schedule you gave me. I probably don't know what was behind the decisions. Maybe it will work better to ask, can we talk about the new schedule? So skipping the greeting, if you saw my recent email on top 10 ways to alienate your reader, something we don't want to do, skipping the greeting was listed because many people have been telling me in class lately, and even just personal conversations, that they feel slighted when someone does not greet them in an email. So we can kind of compare the ideas. If someone's asking me, oh, we want to know X and Y, they could write, Erin, we want to know, hi, Erin, we want to know, or they could just start with the topic. Now, I will say this can be a cultural difference. Many places feel like the first one is actually less friendly than the second because it's just Erin and it sounds kind of serious instead of hi, Erin. But in many cultures, the first one is better because it is considered more formal. So consider what would be best for your reader and just make sure you do have a greeting. The third one is what we do not want, right? And you can decide, hi, hello, check out that other email or video for some tips. But you may live somewhere that just the name is best, or that hello, dear, or hi is best. But skipping the greeting has been making people start feeling like, well, why? Are they mad at me? Is something happening? And then that's time wasted for that reader, right? So we'll just go ahead and say hello to them. I think many of us know what it's like when we read a text, a message in Teams, a DM somewhere, an email, whatever it is, and we feel dismissed or as if our importance has been reduced. Or maybe from an out loud conversation too, right? So let's talk about what creates that and make sure we aren't using these words when we're just trying to save people time, right? Not make them worry. Okay, we might sound dismissive if we don't talk about the reader's needs until the end of the message. I've been really trying to talk about the reader's interest and needs before mine, and I'll put my topics later. Words like just, only, oh, it's just an idea about me or you or anyone. It reduces how important it sounds, right? If I always use more I and less we, I'm potentially making my reader feel less included, less important. And by the way, if you use a lot of AI in your writing, which is fine or can be, I've noticed that some AI products use a lot of I, potentially sounding, ironically, a little self-centered, right? And then lastly, not using strong verbs when we describe other people, when we describe other people's accomplishments. Small example here, Tracy told us the process, but only from a marketing perspective. I'm going to switch up Tracy's verb. She's not going to tell us, she's going to explain. I'm giving her more expertise and I'm taking out that only. Tracy explained marketing's perspective on the process. Now I have spoken with about Tracy with more respect, given her more power, avoided reducing or dismissing her. And so now people can go home after reading that thinking, oh, well, that was respectful. We're all good. So let's quickly put all that together. What can you bring up with your teams or just try yourself as you're trying to make your emails the very best they can be for your reader? 2-part email subject line and a clear ask that includes those 3 components, right? Command, verb, when, and where. Something to bring up with your teams. Using this product over person approach. It's not you and your email, it's the email. It's not me and my bad report page, it's page 5 of the report. Let's talk about the product, not the individuals in those situations. Using interpersonal courtesy, we can forget, oh right, it's a human who's going to open it, and they might feel like I'm not being courteous if I don't say hi and things like that, and making sure it's appropriate according to the culture within which you work. Addressing reader needs first, and that's an always. That's also a concision tip because you give them the information sooner, right? Here's an example of everything in action. Slide deck needed, writing class. Hi, Erin, can you please provide your slide deck for our upcoming class on this date? And then they can go forward from there, but we can see quite a bit has happened, right? A clear subject line. I know which class we're talking about, and they've been polite, and I feel like we're working as a team. All right, please try these out and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear stories. It's so exciting when I'm in class and a few people get together and they say, yeah, we do this all the time where we save each other time by doing these tricks in our emails. All right, good luck and we'll talk soon.